One, two, three, testing one, two, three. Guys, welcome back to another exciting video about the Unreal Game Engine and ALS Advanced Locomotion System C++. And like I said before, I'm going over a series of videos just about the Unreal gameplay framework, and then I will wrap it up with how it ties into ALS. So for you guys who are more advanced, please stick around because it will later get exciting. So I just want to, at the beginning, thank you guys for liking my videos and subscribing. I'm starting to see an increase in views, and I think it's really good. And I think it helps the channel out a lot. And I'm so happy that that professional game developers or people who were new are starting to view my channel. I really appreciate your guys' support, so thank you very much. Alright, so let's get into it. Alright guys, the first thing that we are going to talk about is the actor. Before, in the last video, as you remember, we talked about UObject. We talked about how it was at the top of the food chain in Unreal, and we basically said if there's no UObject, you basically aren't going to be able to mess with Unreal's framework. Okay guys, so let's continue to dive into the second echelon of the Unreal framework. That would be the actor. What is the actor? Why should I care about it? These are questions that popped into my mind when I was learning Unreal. I thought, actor, well, what does that mean? Is it somebody who dances on stage? Is it somebody who does comedy for a living? Is it somebody who does different voices for a living? I didn't really know what that meant. And as I started to understand the Unreal framework, I started to see stuff with A in front of it. A character, right? You start to see stuff with A. Well, that just means that it's an actor. And one of the things that I want to talk about is that actors are, well, the actor class, I would say, is a highly used class in the Unreal game engine. Also, think about it this way. Anything from doors, walls, AI enemies, anything from gameplay objects that are inside of your world are probably deriving from the actor class. So just think about it that way. My collectibles, my pickups, most of these things, weapons, they're deriving from this actor class. And actors, remember, they can be visible inside of the world. And what we talked about before, the UObject, that cannot be visible inside of the world. But the actor can. And the actor derives from the UObject. So if you want to see something inside the world, your best bet is to create an actor. So the way that we use actors is that we build components for our games from these actors. So for example, you've probably seen the character movement component, static mesh component, and particle component. These are all actors, but we're using them to build our game. So think about it this way. Of course, these are not all the components, but the idea is for us to understand how we build our games. This is the idea. So let's look at ALS and see if we can find some components. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the ALS that I loaded onto my computer. We're going to look at it, and it's right here. Okay, so here it is right here, and as you can see, there are a bunch of components here. Okay, there are a bunch of components here, and at the top we have this ALS character BP. Okay, and he's inheriting from the ALS character, which is ultimately inheriting from the ALS base character. So these are some things you can look at. So you can see how all these components that I put here are building my character. Okay, so let's just go back to look at the static mesh right here. And you can also see the different inheritance hierarchy right here. Okay, UObject base, you can start to see. Okay, so let's just move on. Hold on a second. And let's get to how actors work. So let's start to think, how do these actors work? What is the premise behind it? How to spawn an actor? We use pointers and references to spawn actors. So if you don't know what a pointer is, you don't know what references are, there's some really good material out there. I suggest that you go back over C++ basics. There's some C++ books. I'll put a link actually in this description for those of you who have not learned C++, but you want to. There are some actually excellent books. I suggest you read these books. But this channel isn't about actually the basis of this stuff, but maybe in the future I will do just some clear vanilla C++ for all you guys out there. I think that's going to be a good idea too, so I'll add that to the notes for those of you who are still struggling with C++ and don't understand it. I will just add vanilla C++ to it. Okay, all right. Now let's look at this. To get the actor, we're gonna get world. Okay, we're going to get that pointer location, and then we're going to use this thing called spawn actor, and we can spawn our actors in and set the location and rotation. So just keep that in mind. Okay, just put it in your just put it in the back of your head. You don't have to really think about this too much for now, but if you're not getting it, then go ahead and go over it and research about it online. But where you can start from is spawn actor, and just go ahead and Google it, and you'll find a lot of information on that. But the get world is actually a getter, and it gets that world pointer, and then it will return null if the actor is not actually spawned in a level. So if the actor doesn't respond in the level, then it will return null, just so that you guys know this little part. But it gets the world pointer of that actor, okay, and then we can use it. And of course the A stands for actor in front of it. Okay, so here's the documentation. I think that they have a little bit of code for you to work with if you're still not understanding it, but you can go to this link right here. This is my source for the information, and you can go here and you can try to see if you can do the spawn actor. Okay, all right, so let's move on. Here's some of the interesting things to think about, and here's a little hint that I want to throw at you guys. Things to keep in mind about actors. Okay, they don't have their own rotation, scale, or location. Okay, so the way that it works is that it uses maybe something like a root component or use scene component that is attached to it that does have the rotation, scale, and location. Actors are also used in multiplayer too as well. So if you want to make a multiplayer game, chances are that you're going to run into this thing called set replicates true, and you're going to set it in the constructor as true. And so here is some documentation about the actor life cycle. So if you still don't understand or if you still don't understand, you can go here and look at the life cycle. Or if you want a little bit more in-depth knowledge, you can also go here and look at the life cycle as well. All right, so just to recapitulate, here is ALS, the C++, and as you can see, it's multiplayer right here. Okay, I took a picture of it, I put it on here just to show you that it is multiplayer ready, and you see our actors are in here, and this is the world that we're essentially going to build. It's very interesting. I'm very excited about this. All right, so let's move on. And here is source material directly from Unreal Engine. And I just want you to know that this is why actors are so important. You're probably going to be using them a lot, because think about it this way. If you are going to need a gold pickup actor or a pickup generally or collectibles, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to have a root scene component, right, which is in the basic scene component, that sets the actor's world location right here. The second thing that is a part of this is it has a static mesh component. So the mesh component is this gold ore right here. And then you have the particle system connected to it, which is the sparkling emitter right here. Okay, so we can start to see how these components are built. And I want you to kind of transition your mind to understanding how these components are built. Now, the next thing involved is the audio component. And basically, you're going to have some audio when you hit this thing. When you hit it, there's going to be some audio playing. Well, you need an audio component. So this is the reason why I said Unreal, you're using components to build your game. The next thing is the box component, and the box component is probably going to be the triggering thing. So when somebody steps in here and makes a noise and then it disappears, all this stuff is accredited to this collision box right here. Okay, so we can start to see the hierarchy. And in fact, maybe there will be a coding challenge for you guys to build your own little pickups. And we can see whose pickup looks the best or whose pickup is nice. And if you're not getting it, I'll put some code out there for a pickup to be built. Now, remember, the code that I put out there, there's a few different ways you can do it. So go ahead. If you can do it better than me, or you think that you can do it better, go ahead. But the point is that you're practicing programming, you're practicing Unreal, and that's what I want. Okay, so let's move on. All right, guys. So just so that we can clarify a few things that are kind of necessary to understand about the actor, there's a few functions that you're probably going to need to understand. The first one is begin play, and basically, once the game begins play, the actor is spawned, and once it's completely initialized, this is the first function called. So we can set up basic logic inside of this function, or use timers, or or change the properties. So it's good for that. So just if you're not understanding it, please again go to Google, go to whatever you need to go to, and look up begin play. The tick function, that's another one. And basically the main thing you need to know about it is if you need something to happen per frame, you're going to go to the tick function. However, over time, you will most likely be doing more event-based coding, which is just like using events or delegates or even using timers to do these certain sort of things. So it just depends on the use case of your game. Another thing to remember is that usually it's turned on by default, but you can turn it off if you need some sort of performance. If you need better performance, you can turn it off. You can turn it off, but it's turned on by default, so you know that. So let's move on to in-play. And in-play just basically means what it says. And the actor is being removed. When the actor is being removed, the in-play will be called. So when the actor is being removed, the in-play will be called in the game. The next thing that we can look at is get component by class. And let's say, for example, if you don't know the exact type of the actor that you're calling for, you can use the get component by class in Epic Notes that you can search for components, and you can also it will also return the first encounter component of the specific class. So you can search for the components in the array, but then at the same time, it will also return the first encounter component. So this is really useful for depending on the use case of your project. So I encourage you to also go on the internet and look this up in depth. Get actor location and set actor location. These are really two interesting ones as well, because what happens with the first one is that you can return the specific location of the root component. Okay, so on that actor, it will return the specific location of that root component. So wherever it's at in the world, it will return that location. This is good for you to know. Set actor location will actually set the actor to a specific location. So if you need to set the actor to a specific location, you can do that, okay? And remember, it also comes with some collision stuff tied to it. So again, I would encourage you to go on the internet and read about this stuff and dive deep into it. I am just merely today showing you where you need to go and where you need to study. Okay, so the next one is notify actor begin overlap. And if you've ever used Unity before, it's like the triggers. Okay, so whenever the actor, whenever something causes the actor to trigger, it can check it, and this can be used for actually some pretty cool gameplay. Okay, so it will check for the collision, and there's a lot of settings in there that you can change around. And so just to note that Epic notes that there's also a notify actor in overlap. So whenever the overlap ends, you can actually make a function for that as well. So you can with these two, you can actually make functions, right? And you can make functions with these two. So, oh, I'm sorry, right here. Just remember that it's notify actor end overlap. Okay, but you can make functions with these right here. So just remember that you can make functions with these right here. There's supposed to be a space right here, but don't worry about that. We're not getting into the semantics of that. But it should actually be notify end overlap right here. That's funny. So let's move on. So whenever there's no longer an overlap, you can actually create a function for that. So let's say you want to create some kind of trigger for your for that collision, for that pickup item that I saw. Well, you can use this function, notify actor begin play, notify actor notify actor begin play, notify actor in overlap, and then you can say, okay, so when they pick it up, this is what happens, and when they leave out of there, this is what happens when they leave out of that collision box. So these are some pretty good functions for you to understand, because you can use them for your collectibles. So there's also the get overlapping actors. If you want to find out which actors are overlapping with your own actor, then you can use this function. Just the thing to keep in mind is that the component variations of this, keep in mind that the variation of this is get overlapping components. Okay, just so that you guys know that. So you want to go online and look up all these and just to check them out. Okay, let's move on. So like I said before, let's slow it down just a little bit. Let's look at begin play right here, which is in the ALS. And this is another function that I was showing you guys before. So let's just click right here, and we can see in ALS, here's what's going on in the begin play. And it looks like there's some kind of crouch going on, right? There's also some networking stuff going on. If we're not in network game, disable the curve movement, okay? Here's another one. Make sure that the mesh and the NMBP is updated after the character to ensure that it gets the most recent values. So just go through here and look at the begin play on the ALS C++. That's your, I guess that's your homework, to research the begin play and look at what's going on there. Okay. All right. So just let's wrap it up. First of all, I want you guys to be able to review the information, okay? If you're still not getting it, go back and review. It's always, remember, there's an old saying, review the old and learn the new and add into it. And keep reviewing the old until it clicks, until it feels like water, okay? Until you can walk up to somebody and they say, hey, what is a U object? What's the actor? What does this stuff do? This is where you're comfortable at that level of explaining what these things can do. Now, here's the thing. If you're still not understanding, no worries. Open Unreal and try to review the third-person template and see what you can make out of it. I remember when I was new to Unreal, I looked at all the code in the third-person template, and then I went and I rewrote it. I wrote down all the notes about the code and everything like that. And then I went back and I wrote the same thing, but it helped me to grasp what was actually going on. I didn't change anything, because one thing you have to understand, the Unreal character C++ template, it's written like that for a reason. It's written, the third person one is written so that when you go in, it's very easy for you to add stuff, because it already has your basic movement. It's got some buttons where you can look around and move. Right? It's got some movement functions as well. It's already written. Some of the boilerplated code that you'll need to get started is already there. What I am suggesting to you is to try to memorize how it's structured, so that way you can keep going back to it and try to understand it. Another thing I want you guys to start doing is spending an hour a day studying and take notes. studying and taking notes. What I mean by that is you need to practice, and this means that the more practice that you put in this is for the best, and it's better for you and for your success in Unreal. And then another thing is that in the future, like I said before, I will have coding challenges. Okay, so guys, I want to thank you for sharing the time with me and spending time with me as we go throughout this journey. And I just want to say that everybody who's a part of this channel is special in their own way. And I really do truly mean that, because I want to make this channel a really good channel. I want to uplift people into game development, whether you're working for a AAA company or you're a solo or you're a solo indie developer, or you just trying to learn a little C++, or you want to teach your family member something or your children something about Unreal. I want to make it available to everybody, because I just believe that Unreal is just getting better. And the transition of Unreal throughout the years is just very impressive. With some of the stuff that's coming out now, even with UE5, it's impressive. Unreal 4.27 is also impressive. So guys, I just want you to really try to, when you're learning Unreal, here are some tips. Think like a student. When you watch those tutorials online, try to do it from memory. Try to understand what they're trying to teach you. Don't just code, or don't just write in blueprints. Try to understand the material. Go out and make a quick project. Say, hey, I want to make Pac-Man in Unreal. I want to code it, or I just want to use blueprints. Okay. Now remember, when you're using Unreal Engine, it's best if you use both, not just one. Blueprints only or C++. It's best if you use both. If you have a C++ core and you just end up using blueprints all throughout your project, that's still good, because at least if there's some kind of issue or performance, you can go back and you can fix it with C++. But ultimately, guys, you know, on the smaller games, it's okay to just use blueprints. I'm saying that right now, but for performance sake, you want to use C++. Another thing is that if you're new to programming, maybe you can just do blueprints. Hey, that's fine. That is okay too as well. That is okay if you can get your game out there and just use blueprints. I know guys who have published games with just blueprints. But if you run into an issue of performance, that's when you need to start thinking about C++. But the best option, like I said before, would be to use both of them. Now, guys, I'm going to wrap this video up, but I just want to thank you again for listening to what I have to say, and I hope that we can grow together. I really, truly mean that. I hope that we can grow together on this channel. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. I hope that you take care of your families. I hope you treat others as if you wanted to be treated the same way. Take care of your neighbors. And guys, let's just learn and grow together. Let's stay positive every day. Let's look in the mirror and say, look, we can make a game. We can be successful at this. I know the learning curve for Unreal is steep, but I can do it. I will finish learning this. I'm not going to give up. Even though it may seem hard, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to push yourself to get to that light. And if you don't push yourself to get to that light, unfortunately, you're not going to get there. But please follow my channel. I know that there's going to be some exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming to my channel. And remember, at my channel, everybody is special in their own way. And just remember to have a good day. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.